Hi, Miss Kylie.
Hello, Mrs. Burroughs.
Good. It's good to see you again. I'm really glad that you took the time to not only watch my entire lesson, but even the annotation. So thank you for doing that. I know it was a lot. I know there was a lot of things different going on in the schedule this week. But I appreciate you doing that, particularly because we were reduced by a whole day of instruction. So that's why I kind of had to push it through very quickly. So I wanted to get your feedback on, I know we've already talked about the lesson plan. You gave me great feedback and I was able to manipulate a couple of different things for the lesson, but and quite honestly, there wasn't enough time to deliver all the lesson. So I was able, because it's an anchor week that we can just make up. It's a week 10, which is a review week. I was able to stretch the lesson out for 3 parts. So I only recorded one part, which was the initial part, but I also have slides that are included for what we're going to do after the story and the summative assessments. So what did you think so far? How did it go? How did I do? Was I good? Was I terrible? What happened? Tell
No,
me
it was
everything.
especially because I mean, obviously we talked about the lesson plan, and I know like the schedule changes this week, so I think the changes you had to make they were pretty seamless, and you got all the important learning across. I thought it was really effective. I know we talked about using those pictorial vocab cards at front, like really just front load them with that. I thought that was a really good way to set them up for success for understanding the story, and then even getting them up and moving, right? They're little ones, and that's a great way for them to act it out, and that helps bring it to the memory. I thought that was fun and a really great strategy. I also thought it was always really effective. You have really clear expectations and rules while you're giving this lesson. And then you were really clear about the objectives, telling them right off the bat, this is what we're doing, having them repeat it. So they had some purpose going forward. That was really great. I was wondering, so the anchor text David's drawing, if you're going to continue to use that to make real world connections, right? That's we want them to keep talking about the text, and then I know attendance is a problem. So anyone who wasn't able to attend those, if you had a plan for those students who weren't able to get all 3 days of the lesson, and then just to consider in the future, maybe having some kind of independent activity. It's harder on Zoom, but something that the kids can do independently to really can like even like having conversation, peer conversations, and connect and talk about the text. I think could be a great opportunity for them as well.
They do such a great job with science talks. I was thinking about just doing some independent talks like when we were doing in the beginning of the year. They were doing buddy groups or play dates. So they did a really good job, and I have some responsible students and parents that can monitor those groups. So, in order to make that more student led, I can assign those students as the group leaders or the talk leaders, and they can do think, pair, share. We can't do turn and talk, obviously, because we're virtual, but they can do a thing per share. They can kind of read about the story and write about the story. They do have additional access to the story, so that does help for my attendant students. So if they miss parts 1 or 2 or 3, they still have the ability to connect to other parts of the story. With that being said, I'm also they've started a vocabulary journal, and you actually were really instrumental in teaching me to have them develop a vocabulary journal, but that's only for my exceeding learners, because I had to differentiate that a little bit. My exceeding learners actually have been building a vocabulary journal, which they do something that's in, they have an actual picture of a real object, and then for the vocabulary word, and then they create their own scenario based on that. They've even been writing sentences for that. For my approaching learners, my lower friends, they're just kind of getting a sense of what the word means, and they actually can do motions, and that's really, really, really helpful to getting them to do that. With that being said, I had a really good time delivering this lesson, particularly because all the students were able to find the annotation tool and deliver that. But there were also students who wanted to do it on their own. So they used pencil and paper or markers and paper. Some even did drawing pads. So they did an electronic drawing, and they were really good about either taking a screenshot or sending me a picture of their outcome. So we had a good time with part one. We did part 2 today, and we'll do part 3 when I see them again, but of course, because we're out for 4 consecutive days, I didn't want them to lose a lot of the lesson, so I kinda also made it a bonus, for extra dojo points if they get more done. So I appreciate you looking out for me. I appreciate your input. I know you've done David's drawings before, and you've seen how I've done David's drawings before live, but it was really, really different virtually, so I really, am excited about the way that it came together because I was nervous because in person it's so much easier. Virtual is a little bit harder. Even my disengaged students were a little bit more engaged. And I had a few students that were not feeling well, but they were still on the platform and still part of the learning environment. There was one friend who just got out of the hospital, so he's actually wrapped in a blanket, but that blanket is his comfort. And mom reached out to me to let me know that he would be in a blanket during the video. I don't know if you noticed that. And then I have my special needs student, and I actually did the lesson separately with her because it's difficult to understand what she's saying without, me being her being very close to the camera. And there's a lot of background activity because mom's expecting. So she's at her sister's house and there's a lot of people behind her. So I was able to do that at a different time to meet the needs of my special ed learner. I don't have any English language learners, but it was good. It worked out for all of my friends. So thank you for doing that. I think I just have to kind of evaluate myself just to see how I did. And I'm glad that you were able to give me feedback on standard one. You already know I'm a please and thank you person for my kids. So I'm very gracious and I'm happy to see them. And I use all of my kind words. And they do too, which is really cool. So I don't have anything else, but I'm really glad that you came and I wanted to say thank you again.
Of course, anytime. Thank you.
All right. Talk to you soon.